All right, Zerg versus Terran. Hatch first, Lingbane Hydra, as if we are in our own world. Our opponent does not exist. Beautiful. I would not recommend you take this at face value on the ladder. Sometimes it'll work if your opponents are really, really passive. Um, but that's a conversation for another video, another topic. This is, as you want, just straight up a cookie cutter build order. Um, I'm a fairly washed up GM at this point. I'm really low GM. I'm like 5.1, 5.2. But I am still going to play really slow. I'll make mistakes in this. I suck at talking and playing. It's why I don't stream at all. And that's okay. You know, we'll talk about the benchmarks and what's important. So as the game starts, we're just going to click on our hatchery, make a drone, send our overlord across the map. As you already saw, I fucked up my worker split because I suck at talking and playing. So we're going to go drone, overlord, drone. This second overlord is going to go to scout proxies. So if you're commonly proxied over here, send it there. If it's you see proxies over here, send it there. That's the goal of the second overlord. We're just trying to find the proxies. And because it's ZVT, we can take advantage of the 17 hatch. It is the most economical opening, albeit it's minimal, but it is still more economic than a 16 hatch, which we are forced to do versus Zerg and Protoss. For safety, Terran can't punish it, so we can always 17 hatch. And boom. Our next two drones are going to be rallied. This one's going to be, first one's rallied to make a gas geyser. Second one's rallied to make a spawning pool. The reason we do that is so we can keep 16 on minerals as long as humanly possible, because in the first couple minutes of the game, it is crucial that everything is running as efficiently as possible. At the 10-minute mark, it's not nearly as big of a deal. There's a lot more wiggle room, but not right now, there isn't. So our next two drones are going to get rallied into the gas geyser so that we can still keep 16. We are going to pull one off, which is right now. As soon as this finishes, we pull one off just so we can get to 100 gas as possible, as fast as possible, so we can get link speed. After that, it doesn't matter, and we're going to pull off gas. At 19 supply, we'll go ahead and take a second overlord wherever you want to send it. Send it somewhere on the map. And then we're going to change our rally points. Simple stuff. I'm sure this is not news to you. We can make one more drone, because we'll still have the two larvae when our pool finishes to make our set of lings. Pool finishes, our two queens, our two lings. We can get our ling speed. Pulling off gas is definitely more beneficial. However, if it's going to mess you up in some way, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. Honestly, it's just not. Not until you get to a very high level where every minimal decision matters. It just doesn't. So we will go ahead and move out. 2:30 is when we want to try and take our third. We're going to keep droning. And once our third goes down, this is typically when we want to throw down our tech. So first, our two queens pop. We don't have the supply or the money to really make use of inject right now, so I like to spread two creep tumors. And then just for safety, we're going to throw down our Bane Nest as soon as we get to 50 gas. Again, this is not perfect. This is just, we're talking about benchmarks, what we're trying to accomplish. So what we want to do is get to 16 minerals on here, 16 on minerals here, and then we're going to explode and take all of our gases at once. Now, I understand we only have one on gas, but that still gives us a little bit of room. We don't actually want to use this Baneling Nest yet. This is just a safety precaution, because if they're going to hit, they're typically going to hit around the 5-minute mark, and we can still morph a handful of Banelings off of one droning gas. And look, while we're talking, we're supply blocked. Shit happens. I suck at talking and playing. So what can we do when we're supply blocked? Obviously, we're going to make overlords. But since we can't make any units, take advantage of this time. We can spread creep, we can scout, we can try and run by, harass, we can do something. Just don't sit idly going, fuck, I'm supply blocked, and wait for your overlords to pop. Just try and turn a shitty situation, trying to get any benefit you possibly can. So it's not the end of the world. We can go ahead and inject there. We'll spread our creep tumors. Beautiful. At the 4-minute mark versus Terran, we want to take a spore per base. That's just in case there's a Banshee, a battle cruiser, whatever it may be. It honestly doesn't matter what they're doing. If they don't even build a starport, it's just always worthwhile to get that versus Protoss as well. Not so much Zerg, but it's also detection. You never know what you might need it for, and it's very cheap. It's always worth it to just have that spore. So, not a lot of room there. I really hope this is helping. I feel so this is so inefficient for me, but it's still the idea is what we're trying to get. Now, I'm not the biggest creep spreader in the world. I usually just kind of throw down a couple creep tumors and make one extra queen, but that's just me. That's my playstyle. And we're just about done. There, we've got 16 on each. Now we can go ahead and we're going to take this gas. You can just pretty much gas, 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 gas. Beautiful. Keep making drones. Make some overlords. And let's go ahead and take our layer. You can take your layer a bit earlier. I always take it a bit earlier versus Protoss. Versus Terran, I kind of delay it till about now. You don't need it immediately fast versus Terran, depending on what they're going for, obviously. But in a very standard game, it's not the biggest deal to delay it by a little bit. So there's our 66 drone economy. 68 there. And 6 minutes is when we want to take our fourth. Now that we've got all this gas income coming, let's go ahead. As soon as our layer finishes, we're going to do quite a few things at once. Let's throw down our double Evo. Replace those drones. Creep spread, because we're waiting. Make a couple overlords. Look how much money we're floating. What can we do when we're floating money? We can make a round of lings. We can make a round of drones. Just spend it any way we can. This is kind of one of those opportunities to, if we're floating this much, because I'm playing so slowly, is we can make a macro hatch just like that. So, our layer is finished. Let's get our Hydralisk Den. Let's get Bane speed. And let's get 1-1 for our upgrades. Now, even though we are going to play Lingbane Hydra, I've seen this mistake way too many times. It is Hydras supporting the Lingbane. It is not Lingbane supporting the Hydras. Hydras are not our main source of damage. They will never be our main source of damage. If you're playing Lingbane anything, Lingbane is always going to be the main source of damage. So we get melee upgrades. We can get ranged later in the game, but right now, Carapace is huge. Versus Protoss, we can kind of skip the Carapace, and you can go +1 range, +1 melee. Not versus Terran. Carapace is too important for Banelings, because we need them to connect. Any survivability that we can give to a Baneling, especially after they took that HP nerf, is only going to help us more. So it's going to, we just don't get ranged, is all I'm saying. So we've got our Hydra Den. Let's get some supplies since we've got 70 drones already. Everything's looking fancy, fine. 7 minutes. We're going to go ahead and transfer some of these drones, and let's just make Spore for this base. All right, our Hydra Den's finished. What are we going to get first? Hydra range. Now let's go ahead and make 8 Hydralisks and a bunch of Lings. At this point, we pretty much have all of the drones we want for right now. Let's start getting an army. Honestly, we could max out. Ideally, you want to sit around like 80-ish drones, but 70 is completely fine. We could honestly just max out if we're just looking to bust and kill our opponent right here. I'm going to go ahead and take Overlord speed. And at this point in time, all I'm looking for is just making units. We can go ahead and keep our creep going minimally. Like, this is honestly the bare minimum. This is all we really need. Anything beyond this, it obviously helps, but take that with a grain of salt. Don't let it screw up the rest of your build. What I would do right around now is throw down my infestation pit so that I can go into my hive. And I would also throw down my lurker den just because I'm floating so much. Got 12 hydras. I mean, it honestly depends on what your opponent's doing. I don't want to tell you what number of hydras to stop at, but I do want to tell you that unless they're going mass error or something like that, and in that case, hydras probably aren't the greatest answer either. 12 to 20, I guess, is probably a good number. It's so game specific. I don't want to give you an exact concrete number. So we're floating a bunch of money again. So what can we do? Let's just take another hatchery and another macro hatch. We can take that hatch and we can just take another hatch. Just spend your money. Spread our creep. And basically what I'm waiting for is my upgrades. You can wait for 2-2 and push, or 1-1's done, so we can move across the map. Again, by no means is this perfect, but this is kind of a cookie cutter build. If I really wanted to, I could have, if I played this as tightly as I could, I know I can max out on roaches with 66 drones at like 758 minutes. I could probably max out with Hydra Lingbane around 845-ish, 830, 845. You can just keep making as much as you want. Obviously, if you want more damage, always adding more banelings in is going to be a huge help. I hope this helped. It's really awkward for me to... I can't give you specifics, but this is a cookie cutter way of running Lingbane Hydra. Match first. I hope it helped. All right, so here's your second one. It is, you asked for Zerg versus Protoss pool first. And not the 12 pool variant, you specifically say. So I think you're looking for like a macro safety pool first. I gotta say I hate it, but I'll do it. It is of my humble opinion that if you're gonna go pool first, probably 14 pool, 12 pool, an aggressive opener to try and get some damage done. Personally, I hate going pool first versus Protoss. Is like a safety thing because it puts you behind. Yeah, it's not my favorite thing, but it's still technically viable by all means. It is a safe way to play, but we'll do it. So how we want to open up pool first is going to be 17 pool, 18 hatch, 17 gas. I'll show you what I mean. Again, I'm playing slowly, so you can make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. Everyone does. It's no big deal. So as soon as the game starts, same thing as always, we're going to make our drone. We're going to go drone, overlord drone. And because we're going pool first, we can just go, just like we did versus Terran, we can just go right up to the 17 supply. Versus Protoss, our second overlord is always going to sit at our natural to look for any sort of incoming cannons, even though our natural is going to be heavily delayed. It's no judgment here. Cool. Overlord pops, and we are going... There's our 3 drones. We are at 17 supply. So now, we can take one of these drones. We can just rally it. And boom, you have your pool. Now this one is going to get rallied down to our natural. And this one is going to get rallied to our gas. So the one that's rallied to the gas will sit idle for a second or two. It's not the biggest deal. That is how it's supposed to be. That we can keep 16 on minerals. And boom. Now our next 2 drones are going to be rallied into the gas geyser. The only difference with this, because we're going pool first, is there's no point going pool first and not making a set of lings because it's safety. This gives us early scouting, early whatever. So as soon as our extractor finishes, we'll pull 1 off and we're just going to leave 15 on minerals because we need to make our 2, just 1 set of lings, just 1. Now, obviously every situation is different. If it calls for making a bunch more lings, do it. That's why we opened up pool first, for safety. But even if there is nothing, we always want to make that set of lings to justify why we opened up pool first. And we can move across the map. And we're not going to get any damage done with 2 lings, really. But we should be able to sneak in because it'll be earlier than the Protoss is expecting. We should be able to get some damage in. Now, I did miss my queen because I'm talking. But we'll go ahead and take our queen. We'll grab an Overlord. And from here, we're just going to go into a standard game. There's not terribly much more to build on that I didn't already say in the other video. It's going to be more or less the same core. It's just we're now further behind. We're still ideally looking to take our third. It's going to be a bit later because of this. It'll probably be around 2:45, 3 minutes. And yeah, we have the ability to, hard hold down the gas pedal and make a bunch of lings in response to, a super delayed cannon rush or whatever, proxy gates, something. We have that ability. That is nice. But if you try and defend against everything blindly, you kind of die to anything. Like I have a lot of bias in this because I feel like you're just shooting yourself in the foot by opening up 17 pool like this, but it is still technically viable. Yeah, that the only thing that is different is just how to do the first 2 minutes of the game. Other than that, we're just going right into our stock standard, as I already explained in the other video. Same idea. Versus Protoss, the only other tips I can say is we can forego Carapace and we can get +1 melee and +1 ranged. If reading their comp is going to be much more important versus Terran, it's kind of easy. We can just blindly make a bunch of Banelings. Banelings are really good against a lot of things, even if they're going mech. Honestly, it's not cost efficient. However, at that time in the game, if you made a bunch of Banelings and played Lingbane Hydra versus mech, which again isn't, I wouldn't suggest it, but at that timing, you could bust a mech player. Absolutely. You could kill them. Versus Protoss is just a bit more tricky. It's just, if they're going super heavy charge lots, yeah, make a shit ton of Banelings. If they're going to go like hardcore into Archons, we're going to get more Hydras at that point. Yeah, that's realistically it. If you want to get more into scouting, response, defense, all that good stuff, let me know. But this is your cookie cutter build. I hope this helped.